Good morning, everybody. Hard to believe, but it is our final coffee of the community for this school year. We just zipped right by and had a great year, a lot of things going on, and we thought it would be totally appropriate to conclude with kind of a summary, look at the present and future with our digital transformation initiative taking place in Liberty Public Schools. So we have some teachers, we have some other representatives that have joined us. But I thought to begin, I would introduce you to Mr. Trey Kotzer, who is our District Director of Technology, and he will then invite and introduce some of the guests that he has invited here this morning. So, Trey, here you go.
Thank you, Dallas. And again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. As Dallas kind of alluded to, we're just continuing our digital transformation process this year. We have the one-to-one program at the high schools, and we're progressing down to the middle level. And so this semester, we've been doing some pilots at the middle level buildings at all 4 of them with Chromebooks and iPads, getting feedback from teachers and students and so forth. And so for today, you're going to get to hear a little bit from some of the people that we have. We also have, possibly just to let you know, we've been doing pilots at the elementary as well. So we're hoping some staff members from Donovan will be able to make it over and talk a little bit about what they've been doing in Donovan and some things we're doing at the elementary level. So just to kick it off, I'll give it over to Scott Hickey. He's one of our instructional coaches. And with Scott, we have some other teachers and staff, some other coaches. We have Amy Thornburg and Tracy Crott. And we have Lisa Sampson and Brian Finhowen, who are teachers in the buildings. And so I'm getting some information from them as well. So we'll turn over to Scott so we can get going.
Well, thank you. I am Scott Hickey. I'm an instructional coach at Heritage Middle School and Discovery Middle School. And so it's been a pleasure working with our pilot teachers through this process. And so just kind of start with what we have here. We started with the middle level with 4 teachers. The administrators got together and selected the 4 from each of the 4 middle level buildings. And we selected 2 teachers from each of those buildings in grades 6 and 7. And with that, we assigned, we're really focusing on the core content classes as we went through the process. Within that group, it averaged about 90 students that we were testing these devices in the 4 middle level buildings, each of the 4 middle level buildings. 2 devices that we were looked at were the Samsung Chromebooks and then the iPad 2. And so when we introduced these to the students as to which one, it was really, oh, wow, this is great. And it's been great seeing how each of them have loved whatever device that they have. When we did a mid-level survey, we asked them, which device do they want? And we couldn't decide which one they wanted. There was no clear vote because they all loved the one that they got. So it's been great seeing and how they've adapted to that. Both the devices definitely have their pros and cons with them, and the teachers, mid-level teachers, the pilots have all addressed those. The students have definitely expressed, as they have gone through the pilot, their thoughts about each of the device. One of the great things is in my position being able to go into the classroom is seeing the different changes that has happened in those pilot classes. We just have, some of the teachers have, 6 different classes, but one of those classes is the pilot class. And so there is a distinct difference between a class that is being piloted and one that is not, and how they're trying to teach that exact same curriculum. And so through those changes, one of the things here is, as you see, there's a lot more collaboration. The students, in this one picture here, are all taking pictures of the student notes. And so, snapshots. And so it's just great to see. Whereas when I go into the regular pilot class, they're writing the notes down and so on. So it's just how the students have adapted with their device has been very interesting watching. So some of the other things here, and when I asked the teachers, I said, can you give me some comments about your expectations here? And as I was reading through them, one of the things that came through is, in some way or another, they've had more time and a way to change their instruction. There's more student-centered presentations. They have been able to work individually with those teachers because of the way that these devices have changed their class. They've had more time to circulate. These pilot classes, the teachers are not sitting at their desks. They are going from room or student to student, group to group, and visiting with them, because what they have found is the students are all at using different projects, different tools, and so they're needing to keep up with what's going on there. They kind of have automated a lot of their processes too, especially when it comes time for taking assessments or quizzes. With that, it's all online, and so they are getting that instant feedback and able to change their instruction time for that next day or immediately from there. So with those tools, that has really kind of helped with that. Get a little closer here. So as I looked at more of these classroom changes, I'm seeing that more collaboration. I'm seeing that collaboration that's taking place. The teachers and students are learning together, and that's been one of the greatest things is these pilot teachers are not afraid to ask the students, can you help me with this? Or, hey, I have just found this device, or, whatever. There's so much more sharing going on back and forth with these in these classes, and that is unlike any of the other classes. And one of the things that goes with that is, again, it's the students are kind of taking more responsibility for their learning. They are starting to realize that that teacher is not the only source of information, because they can search for any of that other content. And so it's been great seeing the students learn together and the teachers learn together throughout this process. I found that the objectives that the teachers are giving the students have been stated a little more clearly, because the students are now given a freedom of choice, but yet there's still that curriculum that they need to learn. And so with that, those objectives are very clear as to what they need to learn, but then the students are able to put together a huge amount of projects or the presentations, whatever, a big variety in what they might do there. And then the other part is the students are so eager to show their products. I just did a call for some of the students to give me some examples of what they're doing. I bet I received over 40 different samples for this presentation here. And I was like, one, I couldn't take them all, but two, they were just flooding in. And it was just great to see that students want to share with administrators, with the staff, with their peers as they go through the projects there. So here I got a couple of our middle level teachers here that are going to kind of talk about their experience as they've gone through here. And so we have Brian, or Lisa are going to be? Lisa's first, okay. So Lisa Sampson, she is one of our 7th grade teachers, and she was with the Chromebooks.
Good morning. I indeed had Chromebooks with my 7th graders. It was my gifted science class, and one of the great aspects about just having any type of technological tool for us to use is during class discussion, my students tend to have lots of questions. Like, we'll be talking about a certain topic, and their mind is going to take them further than what the textbook in front of them might have or whatever. And the students, someone will very quickly say, well, hey, why don't we Google it real quick? And it takes 2 seconds for them to quickly type in the question, and then we all have the answer. And what I really like about it, too, though, is that even though, like in Google itself, you're going to receive hundreds of different sites that pop up. And so students will not just always, I've encouraged them, don't always just look at the first one, see what else is listed there. And so then we end up having a debate. Well, this site said this, and this site says this. And so it's just nice to continue a discussion and take it further than what I would normally be able to do with just a textbook in class. Scott was talking about the different projects and stuff that we've done, and the one thing that I really like is that I feel as a teacher, I have been able to ask my students what apps are out there that you can use, whereas normally I'm very focused on let's do PowerPoint and let's use this Movie Maker on a PC. And the students, they feel free to just go out and start venturing, and they want to try new apps, and they want to see what's available and how can they use it. And so they would come in and say, hey, Ms. Sampson, can I use this for, to show you what I know on this topic? And I'm like, absolutely. So my instructions were, when it came to the presentation component, yes, you need to make sure that you have all these standards taken in place, but feel free to use whatever piece of digital technology you wanted to use. And I think the kids really cater to that a lot. And then the last thing I just want to let you guys know is that I have really enjoyed the piece of immediate feedback from my students. Maybe during a lesson, I can send them a link to something. It pops up a question. They can quickly answer the question, and I can see who's on target, who's not quite getting it, who needs a little bit more, and then I'm able to either do a quick email back to them. I can send them a different task to occupy. I'm able to very quickly differentiate right then, right there in the class day. I don't necessarily have to wait until next week when after they take the assessment to see who's not getting it and who is. And so I've really enjoyed that component.
My name is Brian Van Houten. I teach 6th grade social studies at South Valley Middle School. And I've been piloting the iPads in my classroom. And as you can see, they're very, very portable and mobile. And you may have one at home as well. And I've been using an iPad for the past couple of years in our football program. I also coach football at Liberty High School. And I use it in my home-based business. I use it at school. And I take it everywhere I go. And I notice the kids that have them in the classroom, they don't just use them in my classroom, they're using them in their other classrooms as well, as long as the teacher allows them to be used. Probably the biggest change I see with the direction we're moving in terms of technology is, and what Scott and Lisa hit on it as well, is the kids are finding more and more information. They're going deeper into their depth of knowledge on things and looking for information. For example, had a kid just today. 2 weeks ago, I was explaining to the class that in the election of 1860, President Lincoln received 0 votes in Clay County. 0. Not 1, not 2, 0. Okay, that's kind of a big deal. Okay, today we're working on one of our projects with the iPads, and the student raises his hand and says, "Mr. Van Houten, come here." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, okay." He goes, "Did you know that President Lincoln received 0 votes in Clay County in 1860? And I was like, "Really? That's great." I didn't say, I told you that 2 weeks ago, but but that was right at his fingertips, and he was able to search for something unique because it was an individual project. Because I don't know if you have 8th graders at home, but 8th graders at this point in the year are ready to be done with middle school, and we're doing some individual projects and student-centered and self-paced projects I'm looking for there. And Lisa talked about that as well. The ability to do have students do self-pacing in the classroom. Lots of times we've been doing PowerPoint presentations, or we have a video clip, and then we talk about it or read about it, and everybody's kind of on the same page and everybody's doing the same thing. With the technology and with the iPads, the kids can do these things at their own pace. Once they get a concept, once they get the idea of, say, for example, what democracy is, they can move on and learn about what an oligarchy was in ancient Greece. If they don't understand what an oligarchy is, they can go over it again while maybe student X, Y, and Z is learning about monarchies. So the ability to self-pace with the iPads or the Chromebooks really is enhanced. Thanks.
So a couple of things, and adding on to that is the relevance piece. We see a lot of students, they're taking ownership in their projects. It's becoming more relevant, and it's not really homework when they're doing something that they really like to do. When I can go home and make a movie to show what the goal, that's not homework, that's fun. I can go through and do all that. And so that's one of the biggest things that we've also seen is that piece to this. So I have a couple of examples here, and we'll just go through a couple of them. Like I said, I got about 40. I've narrowed it down to 20, and we'll probably won't go through all of them, but just to go through this piece here. Put this in here. And it's also really interesting to see how some of these programs or apps are hot 1 month, and then the next month something else has come in and replaced that. And so one of the things here that we'll see here for our teachers, how are they organizing their information? And so we have this program here called Blend Space, in which the teachers now are putting things in a very chronological order, step 1, step 2, step 3, and the students follow through this on their own. And this is kind of what we talked about, that flipped model, where the teachers are now going, or the students are now going at their own pace. So it's kind of great to see that part there. Let's see which one comes up here. This one, another tool here. A lot of our teachers like to do some brainstorming before the project even begins. And there's this just document where now students are able to add, as we go in advance, any of their content that they'd like to show there. And so it's just great for that brainstorming. And again, it's kind of immediate feedback that now that teacher can immediately begin with that content or a topic in which the students are wanting or are interested in. Math. I've worked with a lot with the math teachers, and one of the things there with the math is how to use that technology. It's going from more than just writing on the board or writing on a piece of paper and so on. So we'll see if this loads up here. But the students now in this session here were for geometry, the terms that they needed to know and going through here. And so this is just, again, another quick model. In this project, they had to go through and take pictures of the gym, and then they were finding the different areas of the different squares that are all marked out on the floor and so on. So again, kind of that relevance piece, bringing it back to it's not just a gym floor. There's math all over this floor when we're playing basketball. So kind of a great tool and great project that went from there. iPad and taking notes. That was another big question that we had from there. And that's this program here. And when I was watching the students do this, the teacher never once went through the process to show them how to do this. It was all self-taught. And I think that is just a huge advantage in visiting also with the teachers is the teacher doesn't have to know everything about every single app. The students are going to learn it on their own. And so this one here, the student was just going through, taking their notes, and the teacher asked them to record one of the sample problems, so when they went home to do the rest of the practice problems, they could always go back to this presentation or this practice problem to see how they went through the process. So it was really cool to see that. Show a couple more here. We have our 6th grade, one of our 6th grade classes, where they were doing book commercials. And they were put together through the iMovie and record. I don't know if this one will show up or not. But it's just great in which they were completely interacted with this. And they felt like movie stars because they had, in the way the iPad and iMovie works, they look like real movie trailers. And it's just really a cool feature that they have there. Again, that excitement, that's something we hadn't seen before when they're just standing up in front of the class and presenting. Oh, here's it. Another piece of this was, also had to summarize. This was a template that they had 1 minute and 30 seconds. That's what was given them. And they had to summarize their entire book into that minute 30. And on top of that, add footage and stuff like that. So again, a great summarizing. And I know far more students were watching this. And it's like, hey, I want to have that book from what you did from there. So it was just, again, a great tool in which they could go from there. So I'm going to stop at this point. And is there any questions that you guys might have for the middle level pilot? And the teachers can feel free. Kelly, do you want to add what you talked about? Sorry. Yeah. We already. Okay. You got to come up to the front here. Sorry.
I'm Kelly Minter. I am sixth grade social studies at Heritage Middle School, and one of my classes is piloting the Chromebook. And we have just done lots of different a variety of activities, from presenting with Powtoons to using it as a note-taking device. Right now, which is great, is I left halfway through class and they are still going without me being there, because they are on my webpage doing everything they would be doing if I was there. And with the technology and the way they can communicate with me instantly, when I come back, it'll be there. And so I can go through and read what they're writing and comment on it, and they would get the same feedback if I was still in there today, which is pretty fabulous. We have just done a variety of, they have questions that they have about social studies often comes up. In addition to what our text and whatnot provides, they can Google and go deeper into the curriculum, which is fabulous too. So they've really enjoyed the Chromebooks. They've become digital learners, and they become experts on a lot of different areas, like make a graphic organizer over, and then they'll say, which one do you want us to use? Do you want us to use this? I mean, they'll start naming off apps and different websites, and so it's definitely becoming more specific for each individual and what their strengths are. So it's been a good experience for all of us, I think.
Questions? So you had one?
So my question is around assessing learning. So I'm hearing a lot of eagerness, a lot of choice, a lot of collaboration, really great buzzwords out there in the marketplace, and I'm happy to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
What I'd like to know is if the whole group in social studies and a group that had these iPads took similar assessments on where the objective, who scored better, who retained the information, where did knowledge grow, or did we look at that?
Okay. I'll let Brian. Do you want to answer that?
At the beginning of the year, I had this in my head. I went to a data team training a while back, and I went back and I had this in my head that, okay, what do sixth graders know or not know about world geography? And I just gave them a blank outline map of the world and said, label as many countries as you can. Okay, that's where I started. My best sixth grader was able to do 21. I had 3 kids that didn't know where the United States of America was on a world map. Didn't have a clue. And so I'm like, okay. So I've got a class with the iPads, and I've got 2 classes that don't have iPads. And what I did was I found an app that allows them to train, and every day I give them 5 minutes at the beginning of the hour when I'm taking attendance and doing whatever announcements I need, and they just train. Clicking, it pops up the name of the country, find it, click on it. Okay, and my kids without the iPads, I gave them a hard copy of a world map, like on a placement laminated sheet, and one that is a blank outline map, similar to the one they had for the test. And every day I would put up 10 or 15 countries that they would have to then locate and find. Okay, now obviously both groups grew. Okay, but the group with the iPads, I've got one kid now, he's over 120 countries that he can identify. And he wasn't the one with the 21. I think he was like about 15 or 16. So the iPad group, their results exploded. The other group grew, and I'm glad they did, and I've seen that growth. But here in another week, I'm going to give that test again at the end, and I'm very excited to see what the difference is in the 2 groups. So, to answer that question.
All right. Other questions? All right. So I guess we'll turn it over to the elementary group here. It's like the military, the way you have all your procedures and stuff. So here you go.
Thank you.
My name is Heather Porter, and I teach 5th grade at Alexander Donovan. And then this is Emily Hoffman and Josh Baldwin, and they also teach. And we have had a very unique opportunity this year. We teach in a blended learning open classroom. So we have all 5th graders at Alexander Donovan in one classroom. So we have 78 students in one classroom, 3 teachers. Our classroom, we tore down walls, it's massive. But then it's been really nice because we have had Chromebooks one-to-one from the very beginning of the school year. So we've had them since August, which is really nice. Where other pilot programs, they started in January. So we've been with the Chromebooks for the whole entire year. And so we just want to show you a few things that our 5th graders are able to do. It has been a big change for me as a teacher, the paper and pen and all that we've been used to. And so now everything's digital. And it was funny, the very first time I told a 5th grader, I was like, oh, just email me that. And I was like, that's really weird because they're 10 and 11, but that's the way our world is going now. And so it's nice to be able to teach them now. And so later on in life, they can be more successful. And so if you think about us as adults, we are constantly emailing or texting or things like that. And that's the way that the world's going. And so it's nice to have that opportunity for students. So just a few things. We were able to do a lot that Scott was talking about earlier. In our classroom, we have different digital programs for each subject that also helps. And so we do our Common Core and our Missouri GLEs, everything that we normally would do, we just are able to tweak it using the digital aspect with it. And so one thing that we really do, it's really exciting to see 5th graders do, at the end of the day, every single day from 3 to 3:30, we have students have 3 different opportunities. They can do broadcasting, they can do coding, and they can also do Genius Hour. And Genius Hour is pretty much basically they get to pick any topic that they want to research, and they make their own presentation. And so it's really cool because then the kids they finally get control of their own learning. It's not me saying you have to do something on the Civil War. They get to pick anything they want. And then it's really nice because then they get to stand up and they present in front of their friends. And so it's neat to see that. Coding, yes, our students are actually creating video games and creating different things to do on the computer. And it's just awesome to see how exciting they are. I mean, some students, they're able to write their name and they put on the mouse and it swirls around, but they're just excited. We have other students that are more advanced and they literally can have a maze and a man can go through the maze and just like a video game. It's just cool to see that. Yeah. It's just neat because, they're 10 and 11 years old, and it's just amazing that, just like that whole topic right now, the jobs that they're going to have, they don't even exist right now. And so, sure, yeah. We're going to show you, this is a little coding thing, while she loads it up. We also do broadcasting where the students are able to take iPads and their Chromebooks, and they walk around and they videotape and they interview different people, and it's just neat, and they create their own videos using iMovie, and the kids take ownership of it, and it's neat to see that in our classroom. I probably won't watch the whole thing, but a lot of it.
I was 13 when I first got access to a computer.
My parents bought me a Macintosh in 1984 when I was 8 years old.
I was in 6th grade.
I learned to code in college.
Freshman year, first semester, intro to computer science.
I wrote a program to play tic-tac-toe.
I think it was pretty humble beginnings. I think the first program I wrote asked things like, what's your favorite color? Or how old are you?
I first learned how to make a green circle and a red square appear on the screen.
The first time I actually had something come up and say, hello world, and I made a computer do that. It was just astonishing.
Learning how to program didn't start off as wanting to learn all of computer science or trying to master this discipline or anything like that. It just started off because I wanted to do this one simple thing. I wanted to make something that was fun for myself and my sisters. And I wrote this little program, and then basically just add a little bit to it. And then when I needed to learn something new, I looked it up, either in a book or on the internet, and then added a little bit to it.
It's really not unlike kind of playing an instrument or something, or playing a sport. It starts out being very intimidating, but you kind of get the hang of it over time.
Coding is something that can be learned, and I know it can be intimidating. A lot of things are intimidating, but what isn't?
A lot of the coding that people do is actually fairly simple. It's more about the process of breaking down problems than sort of coming up with complicated algorithms as people traditionally think about it.
You don't have to be a genius to know how to code. You need to be determined.
Addition, subtraction, that's about it.
You should probably know your multiplication tables.
You don't have to be a genius to code. Do you have to be a genius to read?
Even if you want to become a race car driver or play baseball or build a house, all of these things have been turned upside down by software.
It's just really neat because now when our students do the coding, we have student experts because obviously some students are more advanced than others, and then it's neat because then they collab with each other and they are able to make these amazing projects. And when they share them with our classmates, I mean, they're really excited about learning. It's just neat to be a part of that. And then it's nice as far as the academic wise with our Chromebooks, we are able. We have one student in particular. He's a special ed student, and for him to ask him to write a sentence on a sheet of paper, it was a struggle. I mean, he hated it. We would get fits, crying, everything. And now the student is blogging 3-5 paragraphs in his blog on his Chromebook because he's finally given that opportunity to be able to express himself because it was such a struggle to get it onto paper, and now he doesn't have to think about it and he can just type it, and it's just great work that we're getting from the 5th graders that I never would have thought that for them being so young to be able to get this advanced.
Making leaps and bounds as far as its education goes. And another great success story, this year the district asked us to pilot a program called iReady, and it's a reading, comprehension, and vocabulary program that really meets each student where they are. I don't know if the term individual instruction has been thrown out there, but it's essentially a program that they take a baseline test, and then based on that test, it will place them where they need to receive instruction. And I had one student in particular at the beginning of the year in our in-service, we created a list of students who we knew, we asked our 4th grade teachers, who do we need to focus on in order to get them to the level that they need to be at. And the student showed up on that list, and it was an intervention list, and we need to really hit them hard so when they leave 5th grade and they move on to middle school, they're going to be able to be successful. Well, she came into our 5th grade classroom at a beginning of the year 4th grade reading level. So she's beginning 5th grade, she's 1 grade level behind in reading. I'm happy to say now, based on this iReady program and also just instruction from the 3 of us, she's reading at a 6th grade level now. And we take 2 baseline tests throughout the year, this iReady program, and then also our performance series reading tests. And thanks to the instruction that she's been able to get through her Chromebook and through the 3 of us really being able to focus in on her, she's, again, on the iReady program, tested at a 6th grade reading level, and then on the performance series, she has at an above average from a low average at the beginning of the year. So the Chrome, it's an integral tool. I mean, it's changed the way that we have to think, obviously, and for Emily and I, we're both first-year teachers, so we come in with not a lot of preconceived ideas of what instruction is going to look like. And so for us, it's been great to jump into that because we grew up with technology. We grew up, I remember it wasn't until college that I started using a computer every day to go to school. But for those 4 years and then the 2 years after that and my postgrad work, I was familiar with it. So having that tool in my hand to then turn over to a student and see the light come on, no greater feeling. And like I said, being able to take her off that list, erase her name and not worry about her anymore, really good feeling as an educator to be able to do that.
And I know that you were asking about the control group versus the students that do have
much more engaged by having the technology. They want to create more rather than if it, I know he was talking about the geography with a piece of paper. I think the student would much rather go grab the iPad and do the geography than the paper, obviously. So it's that engagement, they're just automatically drawn to it.
And that's like with our homework in the evening. If it is on Edmodo is a program that we use. If it's on Edmodo, we get pretty much 100% turned in. If we send out a sheet of paper, yeah, we're struggling to collect the paper for homework. Yes, they run home, they get their homework done, and they're done, you know, which fifth graders, that's hard to do. So it's been exciting that way. And then you want to show Symboly real quick? It's really nice for fifth graders because with them just getting the new devices and everything and trying to ask them to type in different websites and everything like that, you could lose some instruction time trying to get all 78 kids at one thing. So we use with our students, it's called Symbaloo, and that's what you're seeing here on the screen. And these are just websites after websites that we use in our classroom. And so then it's really nice because if we're getting ready to do a research project, we can say, go to your research tab, and there's 20 different websites that are kid-friendly that they can research their topic on, and then there's 10 different ways that they can present it. And that was a change for us too, because in the years past, it's always been, you have to do a PowerPoint. So every single kid in the whole class did a PowerPoint. Now in our class, any way you want to present. And it's just fun to see what tools they use and choose from. So. And they're already going. And then it's nice, like,
they have access to this all the time.
all the time. Any computer they're on. It's not a Chromebook device. And then it's nice, like Scott was saying, that the immediate feedback. We do a ton of different assessments online, and so literally it will grade it for them, and the kid sees their score right then, which is huge impact instead of waiting for the teachers to grade 78 papers. And I mean, when we were little, we'd get our spelling test not even until the next week sometimes, and you have no idea how you did. Where immediately the kids know.
And we're finding that they'll come up to us after giving an assessment, and they'll get, oh, I know I missed this problem. I was thinking, and they'll explain it to us like, hey, I did.
Yeah.
I saw that. And
They're taking ownership of their learning because of it.
right. Do you have to see any others or any questions?
Any questions?
So the question I've got, it sounds like you've got a large class of 57 students.
78.
78 students. So, student-instructor ratios are in a lot of parents' heads. Smaller is better. That's why we send our kids to private schools. Tell me, is this a good model? Is this a model that will go beyond fifth grade?
This is just the district's, they came to us and we talked about it. It really is 3 separate classrooms in one large classroom setting. So I still have my homeroom. She still has his, and 26. It's the same as if you would walk into another. We just happen to be in one classroom. And so when you walk in, it's divided into thirds. So I have my corner, she has. But then we're able to blend students depending on our lesson. So if we know that there are some students that are really struggling with multiplication, then I can pull everyone from that grade and have a really small group and meet the needs of those students while they can teach something else. And so it's nice because then we can, instead of one teacher trying to do it all, we have support of all of us.
Do you need this technology to do that?
Do we need the technology?
It helps.
It helps. Huge.
But
Uh-huh.
it was something that if we didn't have the technology, even just basic communication-wise between collaborating with teachers, that is a key tool that we're able to push out to students.
We would not have the success rate if we did not have the technology.
And I know
That is.
common misconception or concern is that the relationships with students. But I've found, I'm a first-year teacher, but I feel more connected to my students. I have them emailing me, some that don't always speak in class or more vocal on the computer through Edmodo, through email, because we have those communication tools.
And I think also another misconception too is that when the kids arrive at school at 8:30 in the morning until they leave at 3:30 at night, their face is in front of the screen. And that is absolutely not the case. We are on our Chromebooks for, on average, 2 hours throughout the day, not at one single time, but throughout the day it's spread out for about 2 hours. And they still get, I mean, I have a stack of papers about that thick waiting to be graded in my turn inbox still, you know, so we still have those things that they can cling back to if it becomes overwhelming for them. We're not just saying, you know what, this year we're not gonna have paper and pencils, you're gonna do everything on the Chromebook. But there are those tools like iReady, like Dreambox, which is a math program that we can use as supplemental tools to say, okay, after we do our small mini lesson, why don't you guys go spend about 45 minutes on Dreambox, and it's just constant individualized math attention that they can get. And they still have questions, they'll raise their hand and say, hey, I don't know what the program's asking me to do here, so we're, again, able to come in and instruct and kind of align their thinking with what the computer's thinking. So it's not as if we turn them loose and then we're just kind of sitting back, twiddling our thumbs for about an hour or two. We're still engaged with our students, we're still asking them to do things above and beyond maybe what they're comfortable with doing or feel like they might be able to do. But when you see them get over a hurdle, it's also, again, very rewarding as a teacher to get to see them do that.
You guys kind of got thrown a lot of stuff with laptops and the big classroom setting, and so what kind of preparation went into getting ready for this year?
Becky's laughing. Everything was presented to us last January, so a year and a couple of months ago, and we had different trainings during that time. It was teacher trainings, and then it was nice because they gave us the Chromebooks during summer school last June, and so that was really nice because then we could tweak so that we could prepare ourselves for August. One thing that we didn't realize, we had too many Chromebooks in our classroom and not enough internet usage or whatever, so some of the Chromebooks would shut down because Chromebooks internet-based only. So we were able to tweak all of that during summer school so that when we started in August, we were more prepared for that. Little things like that we didn't know
would expect. Time enough?
We have learned throughout the whole year. It's been really nice because technology also once a month has been doing meetings with us, and so more training to get us more advanced. And it's nice because with other schools joining, then we can all collaborate with each other and be able to say, oh, that's a really cool idea, let's try that in our classroom. Or this worked and this didn't work. So.
And the blended learning, as far as that goes, what's nice for us as opposed to any other team in our building is that we have real-time collaborative meetings in class where I don't have to wait until Wednesday between 10 and 11 when our team meetings are to have one-on-one collab time with my teammates. I can walk up to Emily and say, hey, we're thinking about doing this during social studies. What do you think? Well, why don't we tweak it this way? And then we go from there. So we can have immediate feedback from each other about how things are going and what's working, either technology-based or just as far as classroom management, instruction. Hey, can you take one of my students who seems to be having a rough day? Maybe you can, sit with them and talk with them. They'll relate with you a little bit on this subject. That's just an opportunity that I have that I know fourth grade across the hall doesn't have that opportunity. And so as far as the blended learning, or not the blended learning, but the open classroom aspect, yes, when you hear about it and you see it on paper, it seems overwhelming. 78 students, 3 teachers, 1 classroom. But when you walk in and you see the feeling of, I have my book notes to my students, they still know who their teacher is. It's not who to ask what question to. They know if they have a question or concern, I'm going to go see Mr. Mullen about that.
Yeah.
Sometimes, because sometimes obviously they will go and ask other teachers questions, which we encourage, but the relationship is still there. They still know, hey, he's looking out for me, he's got my best interest at heart.
And to be in that type of classroom, you have to be very flexible, but then it's really nice to have that flexibility. Like she was saying, she can pull students while us two focus on a different lesson or a separate students. That type of classroom just allows that flexibility. And then to answer your question, like you said, is a month long enough? I wasn't here at that time. I didn't come till January, but I would think a month would be plenty of time to plan and prepare because, like you said, you're constantly learning throughout the year, and you're going to find, even if you had planned for that month, you might not use anything that you planned that month because you're finding there's always something new and something you're hearing from somebody else that you want to incorporate. So.
And with
think that, I mean, it's different because I've been teaching for 14 years, and so in some classrooms you easily can say, oh, I've done this every single year, I'm going to keep doing that. Well, in our classroom, because of our technology, all of the stuff that we've always done in the past has been thrown out, and everything's brand new, and it's been exciting, and I love having 2 first-year teachers with me so that they can give the newest insight of technology and how we can incorporate it, and it's just amazing the kids and how excited they are. We always do perfect attendance and every single day. I mean, I feel like our attendance is it has improved because of the technology, because they're excited to be there and excited to do their work.
What monitoring software tools do you have that you can, especially in the classroom at large, that the kids are actually on the programs they're supposed to be and not watching YouTube videos or playing games, since you can't be everywhere at one time?
Yeah. It's hard to explain because our classroom, it is large, but each corner is a homeroom class. And so it's just like a normal size. If you just take your one corner of my homeroom class, it's the same size of the normal classroom. We just happen to have no walls.
Type of monitoring software that you can click on and see what some kid is doing on his computer at any time?
You can check on a Chromebook, you can see their history of everything that they've done. Mm-hmm.
You do that frequently?
But you can't do it real time.
I can't sit at my computer and say, okay,
check everything.
Johnny's computer, what is he doing absolutely right now by looking at my computer?
No.
I can go walk up behind Johnny and I can look over his shoulder, just like in any other, if we're in the computer lab, I'd have to do the same thing to walk around, make sure that they're staying on task, staying up to date, or staying on what we're working on. What we did do is we spent about 3 weeks at the beginning of the year teaching about digital citizenship and what it means to be responsible online, and that anything that goes out over the internet is there for good. Even if you click the delete button, it's somewhere and it can still be reached.
We still have access.
And we still have access to that. So you as a teacher, yes, they're 5th graders, they're young, they don't, sometimes they don't have great impulse control like we know kids don't sometimes, but there is that trust between me as a teacher and as a student that if I tell you not to do this, you're not going to do that.
And we haven't had a lot of issues with them being on things they're not supposed to. The main thing is they want to be on coding all day. They would love to do that, and that's great that they're creating their own learning, but obviously we can't do that all day. But we can see all their screens. We're having the technology, I think we're even more closely monitoring, walking around, like, we're hardly ever sitting down.
Yeah, we got rid of our teacher desk. Like, we don't even,
have a desk.
because you're constantly walking around and monitoring and teaching and one-on-one and small group and.
And, yeah, we have round tables too, so all their computers are kind of in the middle, so you can it's easy just to see what everybody's on. It's not.
And they're not as,
it's not a problem.
They're not as clever as they think they are. You can tell.
As they have other tabs open, you can see exactly what they have open.
So you can't swipe on the Chromebook.
Right, no, there's no swiping. And it's very easy, and they're still at the age where if you ask them, are you doing something you're not supposed to do? Well, or yes, I am, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, they will admit, yep, yeah, I wasn't on the, yeah.
This may be a question more for folks back here, but so what's the plan going forward with both one-to-one and the blended classroom?
Tracy?
That's above our pay grade.
I can answer one question. As far as the question for where we're going in the future, again, we're finishing up our pilots right now at the elementary and the middle level. With the levy that was passed, John has specifically said, we'll be doing integration to finish something up from K to K-12. We've done the high school levels. We'll do the middle level next year, and then we're still making a decision on what we're doing at the elementary and how far down that we're going. John has said over and over it's going to be a 2-year phase in at the elementary level, and so we're just waiting, kind of getting feedback, and then we're going to make some final decisions as where we are, how much, where, and so forth. As far as the Donovan pilot, as far as where it's going and what are we going to replicate, I mean, I think that's really not for me to say, and I don't know the answer. I don't know, what that is going to look like in the future. So unfortunately, I don't have an answer for that, but I do know that we will be putting more devices in the hands of kids to get them hopefully more engaged, get them more access, and make them, ready for their future, once they leave Liberty Schools. As far as I see. Okay, so as far as parental controls, I mean, the history, you can view the history. We're a district that does filter when they're outside of the district. I mean, there are some districts that do not. There are some districts that say outside the school, parents should be more involved with what the kids are doing with their devices, and they don't filter. We still think the parents should be involved. We still think the parents should set guidelines, should have stipulations. I mean, my kids know I can come anytime, grab her phone, look on it, all that kind of stuff, or maybe they want us to only work in the kitchen area where everybody can see what's going on. I mean, that's a family decision, but we still have a filter to where if you have questions, yeah, we can go in and look and try to see what they've been doing and so forth. Okay. Well, hey, I'll let Dallas come up and wrap it up, but I would really like to thank all the teachers that have taken the time out and really the time this year. Doing a pilot, it takes time, it takes effort. You may not have it in every classroom, so you're really trying to adjust from one thing to the next. So I really do appreciate all that they have done back here. They've put in a lot of time and a lot of hard work, and they really do need to be recognized that. So we do appreciate it very much, and we do thank you for coming and listening to what we have and what we've been doing so far.
With that, why don't we give this group a big round of applause for taking time out of their schedule. And as we wrap up, again, thank you for coming this morning. Obviously, great information, and we'd love for there to be 500 of our parents and other stakeholders here this morning, but we know it's difficult to work into everyone's schedule. But the good news is that device in the back of the room, a camera, is recording this, and we will have this presentation available in its entirety on Channel 18 and on our YouTube channel coming up real soon. So we'll look forward to sharing that with the rest, and please encourage friends of yours to check that out here in the coming days. So that is going to wrap it up. Coming up on 11 o'clock here. I want to again thank our panel for coming this morning, and we're going to be rolling into the summer real quick, and also just want to let everybody know that we will be excited to introduce the community to Dr. Jeremy Tucker, our superintendent, who will begin on July 1st. I shared with the group just last week when he came for his visit to interview. I had a chance to drive him around the district and the community for probably close to 2 hours, and I was so impressed by him, and I think our community is going to be impressed by him. And since the announcement has come, just all the positive feedback we've received from his district at Logan Rogersville about how they are sad to see him go. So I think that's a great thing. It's obviously a big loss for them, but I think it'll be a great gain for us. So again, we'll look forward to introducing him as the summer moves along and as we get ready to get things started again in August. So we just want to wish everyone a great summer and hope everyone gets some good rest and relaxation, and we'll see you back to start the 14-15 school year. Again, thanks for coming.